Hello, you slam dunkers. How are you? Slam dunking the win. Win for the light. Today I'm going to talk about channelers and the ones who have funny voices. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So just as an aside, I heard this guy who does a lot of political commentary, but also does a lot of religious commentary. And he was talking about a guy who's been channeling for as long as I know. When he started channeling, he had hair. Now he's completely bald. I reckon he's probably one of the very first known channelers around. And he sits like this. Does he channel Bashar? I think that's the name. I think it is. And I don't know what the guy's name is. But this guy was doing a commentary saying, and this charlatan, he says this and that, and you look at the Bible, it says that you shouldn't, and all of that, and it's all bad. But the way he was talking, it was like as if this guy had just appeared out of nowhere. And I was thinking, you haven't done your homework, have you? Because he has been doing it longer than most people have known what channeling is. I mean, he's been around for yonks. You know, got to say something. He's been doing it for so long, you know, and however, I understand that when you listen to him, and especially if you're not into that kind of thing, and there he is putting on a funny voice, you know, hey, yo, and then shouting and everything, you'd think, bit of a rabbit off there, something wrong there, yeah? And there are other people that I watched this lady, and I mean, it's incredible. I just saw a video of her tonight. It's incredible. So when she talks, she's got this northern, I'm not sure exactly where in the north, accent. She's got a really high voice. She's a lovely, like very unassuming lady. She's talking like that, right? And then she starts channeling this being, and she's talking like this. Well, of course, yes, and but in this guy's voice. I mean, she's got a really squeaky voice in real life, and then she's got this man's voice, super posh. I can't remember what her name is, but she's been doing it for a good while as well. And if you were, I mean, I've got to say, she is quite impressive, because you think, really, has she got that deep of a voice when she's got a little squeaky voice in the real life? However, if you didn't know much about this stuff, you'd look at her and go, something dodgy going on there. She's just doing that. She's just putting that voice on. You know, I wonder if she can do a Scottish accent as well. So there's that, right? And I'd like to know what your opinion is. Please put it in the comments. What your opinion of those kind of channelers is. Now, I had an opinion about those kind of channelers before I channeled. And what I thought was, they're just making it up. That's ridiculous. And is there any need to put on those silly voices? That's what I thought. Okay, that was my thought. That was before. Now I've got a different opinion. But how it came about, this conversation about them, was I said to the emissaries when I was talking to them, why don't you move my head, and why don't you give me those whopping downloads that you used to give me anymore? Because at the beginning, that's what they would do. And they said, well, what happened was we needed to move your head, and we needed to do these things to get your attention. They said, because if we hadn't have done that, you would have dismissed what was happening to you as something else. As just, well, I'm feeling a bit dodgy today, or I'm just making that up in my head. And they said we had to move your body. So your body was moving of its own volition and you had no control over it. They said we had to do that. And that give you validation that something outside of the normal was happening. Okay. They said, however, what happened as time went on, you developed a better system. What they explained was that when they would do the body movements, when they'd be whipping my head around and all of that, they said that took a lot of our focus. And so most of our focus was spent on getting your body to move, to get your attention. And so they said, we found it very difficult to give you a flowing message as well. And I said, did you have to come down quite low? You know, the way they describe it is to actually connect with people, they've got to come down low and we've got to come up. But I had come up because I did meditation. You know, I got the message, do some meditation, for God's sake, Gordon, give us a break. You know, like with that joke about the man who wants to win the lottery, and then finally God says, just buy a bloody ticket for God's sake. Well, it was the same. I was like told, meditate on an ayahuasca weekend, meditate. They needed me to come up at least high enough so that they could come down low enough to move me around. So they said, well, that's how we got your attention. But then we were able, once we had your attention, then we were able to actually transmit the message a lot easier, because you were able to go there and you had the validation and the belief in it. Okay? And they said, and what happened was that together, we found a better system, a one that wasn't as clunky. Because they reminded me at the beginning, at the beginning I would only channel, just stream it. I would record myself and stream it. But bloody hell, I used to have to edit the videos afterwards. And there was these whopping gaps in between each thing that I said, or they said, whilst I was waiting for it to be downloaded, and then I would send it out. So now what they said is, if you wanted to, you could stream very, very fluently now. And every now and again I'll stream them, and I virtually have no gaps. It just flows, because I've got that sorted now, a better system. So I don't need to have all of the head movements now. I don't need to, because it's been validated. Sometimes I would like just to have them for a little bit, just to say, yes, it is real. But I don't need to, because they've changed even or I've changed in the way that I allow the information to come in. And so sometimes it's words, feelings, images, or whatever. So that's been the evolution of my channeling. I never ever put on a funny voice. Never ever. But I never needed to. And I think I had an aversion to it as well. Not that I would have done it. They don't take over my throat or my body in that way. They just give me the information and I speak it. Okay? Although I've got to say that when it comes true, there's a different tone to it for me, and there's a different choice of words as well. So they do take over to an extreme, but not like changing my voice. I don't go into, a Glaswegian accent or something like that. However, I said to them, what about the channelers who actually do, change personality completely? I remember watching a lady who was doing the Palladian channeling, and she started by screaming. I think, and she was saying something, but it was a scream. A bit like Bashar, he starts with this scream. I think it's like a boom to get themselves going. And I said, well, so what about that? And they said, in our estimation, our belief, that was the way that the channeling at the beginning was used to get their attention. That was the way to get them validated, so that they knew that it wasn't them that was doing this. But they said, all that's happened is that they've chosen to keep that as a validation. They never moved away from it. But they said it doesn't make it any less valid. It's just that they've chosen to keep that particular thing. Just like I suppose I could have chosen, if I wanted, to be channeling and have my head doing this, or channeling just yes and no with my head if I wanted to, I suppose. But I didn't want to. I wanted to be a bit more eloquent than that. It's time taking with a yes and no quite often. So they didn't say it was not right or false or whatever. They're just saying that's just their validation, and they choose to keep it because then it makes them absolutely certain that this is not them. Yeah. Whereas I like this sometimes. Is that me or is that you? Although they often say to me, they say that because I say, well, how much is me and how much is you? And they just say, it's just like a fusion now. Like we were talking about co-creating. It's a flow of ideas. And so who does it really come from? Both? Everybody? Both groups? Just the way that is. So that's interesting, isn't it? So if you like channelers that put on funny voices, there are tons of them. all over the place. Or if you like channelers who just say, well, this is what I was told. Also, I mean, there's another lady who used to do a lot of that channeling in the during the plan-demic, and she stopped because she said that she was under such pressure to come up with like intel from the other side that it was getting out of hand. But she didn't do any funny voices. She would just say, "This is what came to me," you know. So horses for courses, is it not? And so I shall say goodbye. I love you all from this channel that has been labelled as a HATE channel. Don't you just hate that when they do that? So, I love you all. Bye-bye.